I guess I just felt like I was in a bit of a mess. I was just buying and didn't have a plan. I was just going on my own research. I didn't have any professional coaching whatsoever.
You're listening to Property Investor Tales, stories from the front yard. Here's your host, Tabitha Bright.
Hello and welcome to Property Investor Tales from the front yard, where I get to speak to property investors from around Australia about their investing journey. My name's Tabitha Bright and I'm the head of coaching at Positive Real Estate, where we help people build wealth through property. With over 8,000 clients across Australia and New Zealand, there are some incredible stories to tell, which hopefully makes your investing journey that little bit easier and will inspire you along the way. So my guest today is Rose Pengilly. We touch on the pros and cons with Rose of buying 3 properties in quick succession. We talk through investing during COVID and navigating abnormal and normal problems. So hope you enjoy this conversation with Rose. Hey Rose, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi Tab, great to be here. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. It's been fascinating talking with so many clients about their different experiences with property and their journey and, you know, what's motivated them to start investing in property. And I guess on that note, you had actually bought property before you joined Positive Real Estate, right? You had 3 properties, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Before talking to Positive Real Estate. So what brought you to Positive Real Estate if you'd already been buying property? What was your reason for looking at Positive Real Estate?
I guess I just felt like I was in a bit of a mess. I was just buying and didn't have a plan. I was just going on my own research. I didn't have any professional coaching whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I had an accountant. He looked after my self-managed super, and which was my last purchase prior to joining.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I needed some coaching. And I think I'd seen some messages that Tim had put out. And I think Tim had been on my case actually for a long time, several years.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I remember thinking, I must find that Tim guy. And that minute, he then called me, and I was like, wow, was this ESP or something? It was quite bizarre. And then he got me to a seminar, and I joined.
Oh, fantastic. So Tim was your coach originally, and Tim's moved on. We have sometimes some of the coaches go off to do and create some of their own goals and dreams, and Tim's one of those. And now I think you've got Laura Chugg and Riley. Riley's your property consultant, isn't he?
Yes.
He's very fond of you, Rose.
I met Riley the very first night I went to mentoring.
Yeah.
Tim introduced me to him, and it was right when they did. I think I'd watched my first webinar or something. It was well before COVID, but he did something online that I watched, and I saw the Georges, and I was really taken by the Georges. And then I talked to Tim at my first mentoring about that, and then he introduced me to Riley, and then you had Aria going.
Yes, one of the developers we work with. Yes.
You had Amira for sale at that point.
Oh yes, yep.
So Riley grabbed me and we had a big chat. And then the next week there was a bus tour, and I booked on the bus tour. And then I went to Canberra and met Riley, and I did the Canberra mentoring. And then Riley took me around to see Ischia.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And then I went to Melbourne and did the Melbourne one and fell in love with
busy.
Yeah, that was like December. And then I saw Heidelberg, and I saw the site for the Georges, and I put in and I loved Heidelberg. I just loved that idea of Airbnb style stuff. And Sam was then talking about the Medi
stays, which is like
So I was quite eager to do all that. I spoke to MediStays at length about how it would all work.
Yeah.
And then I had to make a decision. And I went with Aria in Brisbane. Yeah. And then a short term later, I went with the Georges.
Right.
And then just recently, Heidelberg.
So you've purchased 3 properties within quite a short time frame. And obviously, like, not everything goes to plan, right? And
no, it doesn't.
And that's investing, yeah? Like, we often talk about, when I coach clients, we often talk about normal and abnormal problems. And COVID was a unique challenge that, no one saw coming. And, some of our clients were COVID impacted. And the way that most of our clients were impacted is what you found, I think, with your property in Heidelberg and Melbourne. And so just for people that mightn't be familiar with what Rose is referring to here, her Heidelberg purchase, it was a boutique development in Heidelberg, right next to the Austin Hospital. So not only an area that historically has not had a lot of apartments, but also an area that would also benefit from short-term stays with the hospitals. So unfortunately, right when you settled, COVID hit, didn't it?
Mm.
And so what did that mean for you?
So I guess I settled in December.
Yep.
2020.
Yep.
So COVID had been in full swing for 9 months, 10 months. So it meant I think it was Christmas too.
Yeah.
So
double whammy.
I think I probably could have, in hindsight, maybe delayed that settlement just a little bit to January. I really think I could have if I'd have spoken to Lila. I'm sure I could have, but I didn't think. I thought about it and I thought, I don't want to be a burden on anyone, and let's just go stick with the plan. Yeah. And I'm kicking myself. Yeah. And I think I probably could have delayed it till January, because we had hassles with getting the money. You know how they offered a builder's kickback. I had problems getting that because of Christmas, because the rebate, because that was meant to have hit your account within 24 hours or 3 days or whatever it was, but it took me 3 weeks. It took 3 or 4 weeks to get that, because of Christmas and the shutdown and everything. And then because of Christmas and COVID, I couldn't get a tenant until February.
Right.
So I think if I'd have at least, but I did have a chat with Emma, and she kind of thought, well, it's COVID, it's unnormal anyway, so you don't really know what's going to happen. Maybe people are more staying home, so they may be moving, so you might be lucky, but I wasn't.
So you had
I had I had an extended vacancy because of that.
Yeah. So you settled in December, and Emma, once again, for people that aren't familiar, Emma is one of the senior property managers that we have here at Positive Real Estate, so part of Rose's team. And Emma and her team were very proactive, working through the extended vacancy periods that clients had. And when you're going through it, it can be very uncomfortable, right? Because you're like, well, when am I ever going to get a tenant? It can feel like it goes on for ages, particularly in an abnormal event like this. Yeah. And then you did get it rented. So you got it rented in February?
Yes.
Yep. And your coach, did she set up some buffers? Did you have buffers put aside? And
well, I did. I've always had buffers, and
good.
I had a reasonable. I mean, this is in self-managed super. This one, So yes, I did have a fairly good buffer there, and I had the incentive as well. The 30, which was equal to the tax, the stamp duty.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that was a big relief not to have to pay that. Yeah. So that was good. But yes, they took a 12-month lease, so that's all ticking along.
Oh, that's wonderful. And in the interim, that gives plenty of time for the vacancy rates to tighten, because obviously you had the incentive from the builders about the 30K. So a lot of once again, for people that maybe aren't as familiar with these kind of terms, often developers, if there's a tight patch in the market or they're struggling to sell due to something really unusual like an event like COVID, they might incentivize or take a hit on their own profit to make it more appealing for people purchasing. And so Rose was lucky enough to get a $30,000 incentive from the developer that was paid in cash after she settled, yes?
Yeah.
And so that then meant that she had some extra buffer on top of buffer that you would have left anyway. So at no point were you in any danger of not being able to pay a mortgage or losing your property or anything like that.
No.
It's just it's the annoyance of just watching some of that incentive tick away, really, isn't it?
Yes,
Be
it's
absorbed.
just that anxiety, the unknown, like how long is this going to go on? How much more am I going to have to reduce the rent?
Yeah.
Yep. How much more costs am I going to have to pay for advertising?
Yeah. No, I understand. It's funny. I had I've got property in Sydney in Dulwich Hill, and I've held that property for years now, and probably since 2008 or something. And it's always rented really well, but all markets expand and contract. And you know this, Rose, like you've been in the market a long time with property over the years. And sometimes rents go up, but they don't always go up. Sometimes they also contract a bit. And I got an email from my property manager the other day saying my tenants had proposed that they renew for another 12 months, but they want to drop the rent by $20. And I was a bit like, oh, really? And then I looked at the vacancy rates in Dulwich Hill, and once again, Sydney's another area that's been a bit COVID impacted by the rental market. And I just thought, you know what, for the sake of $20, it's just not worth it, is it? I could be vacant holding on for that extra $20 for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, and totally absorb that anyway. So sometimes you just got to roll with the punches a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know it'll even out the other side and it'll settle down. And what we know about Melbourne is the vacancy rates are beginning to contract and go back to normal very quickly. And I think over the next few sort of coming, and this podcast will be around for a while, so we can look back on it in 12 months' time and say, was she right? But from what I understand, we are in for a time of quite intense undersupply, and we are expecting the next boom really to be a rental boom due to the fact that there's just not enough supply. So that'll be really interesting to see, and it'll certainly benefit you and I. We'll look forward to that. We'll have a glass of champagne, I think, Rose.
Yes, sounds good to me. Because the Georges will be settling in June next year. So
awesome.
I'm hoping that is going to make up for, even though it won't be in super, but still.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that there's been an uplift there. Make up a bit of difference.
Yeah, well, I think you'll find there's probably been an uplift in value for sure. And hopefully rents have settled down enough to normal that it's just business as usual when it comes to your rents. So I think you'll be pretty happy with the Georges. I know there's a lot of people that are excited about that settling. So tell me, your friends and family, what do they think about your investing decisions?
They think I'm mad. They really think I'm mad.
Do they?
To the point where I don't talk about it anymore. They either think I'm insane or they think I'm rich, which I'm not. I have debt. My answer is I have debt. I'm not rich. And my family, my family are farmers, so they just don't get it. And they don't know where I got it from because it certainly didn't come from them. That was one of my dad's last statements, I think. Who taught you how to do this? It certainly wasn't me. And it's just like they just got too old and they couldn't understand it, and I just didn't want. I just, so I don't talk about it to anyone anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do enjoy asking everyone I talk to, do they talk to friends and family? And some people are like, yeah, of course. Like, I share what I do all the time. But most people are like, nah. Most people have learned that there's so much fear for people, I think, and then they project that fear onto what you're doing without the education behind it or the experience. And they get just way out of context, I think.
And they make assumptions that certainly are not true. And but I like to meet people that have similar mindset, and that's why I loved it when Positive used to have the face-to-face mentoring. You can meet like-minded people. So yes, if I do meet someone that is into investing, I like to have a good old chin wag with them. The fact, actually, I went to an auction last night for a friend in Dulwich Hill, actually.
Oh yeah.
Guy in Melbourne, friend that wants to buy there.
Yeah. And
the place went in. It was insane. One of his neighbours sold for, I think it was 300,000 less in July. So this place went up 300,000
since July 2020.
Since July 2020.
What sort of house? Is it a house?
It was a 2-bedroom unit in Dulwich Hill.
Really? Because mine's a 2-bedroom unit. I'm thinking, woohoo!
Yeah, it was a nice, fairly open, larger style on Terry Street.
Interesting.
But it was a really good experience, actually, going to this auction and just watching everyone fight and go nuts. But there was three commercial, which didn't seem very popular at all.
No.
And there were two residential, and they went absolutely insane for both of them.
Really? Okay. Well, it's interesting to hear that, because at the moment, when you look on RP data and we do valuations and desktop vals, because a lot of this upswing has really been, I guess, heated since the beginning of the year, there's still a lot of data that's just not, being shown or has been not entered correctly, and it's not quite showing the upswing that's happening when you look at valuations. And I mean, this is always an ongoing problem with valuations. We know this. But interesting to hear from you on the ground. And then tell me, for people that are beginning their investment journey, what advice or insights would you have for them? Because despite the challenges, like we've talked a little bit about your challenges with, renting out a property and bits and pieces, but you've also had some good results, which we're going to talk about as well. So, tell me, what would you say to somebody that's looking to get started, but they might be a bit scared, might be a bit worried about making a wrong choice? What would you say?
I'd be saying get some advice.
Yeah.
Get a good team.
Yep.
Make sure that you understand what you're doing and your structures.
Yeah.
Start early. Don't hesitate. Prices just go up.
Yeah.
Don't put it off.
Yeah.
And just make sure you've got some good buffers in place.
Yeah, because time waits for no one, eh?
Exactly.
Tell me, with your investing and everything you've done, you're getting close to the point where you can wind back some of the work. You're looking at moving out of Sydney. Tell me about some of that, because you've made a really good point here. When I've done my, preparation and research on Rose and who is Rose and what is her journey, I've highlighted some stuff that I think is really cool about what you said. There's a lesson here that nobody else has mentioned. Do you want me to read it, and so you know what I'm talking about?
I think I know where you're going, but go on.
Right. you just mention, I'll paraphrase, that if you're going to sell and sell down as part of your strategy to pay off some debt and retire on income, it takes a bit of advanced planning. So what are you finding around this? Because you've gone through acquisitions phase where you buy your property, you're hitting consolidation phase where you're rationalizing everything, paying down some debt, and you're about to maybe take a trip around Australia, which will be really cool.
I can sort all this out, yes.
Yeah. So while you've been preparing for all of that, there's been a few lessons. Talk me through that.
Yes, so thought I could sell my place and maybe park some money in a bank account and go off traveling and live happily ever after. But no, I've got mortgages that are tied to this place. So I've got to wait and I've got to figure out what the value is that's actually tied into here, then make sure that those loans aren't on fixed term. If they're on fixed term, then you've got to pay them out. Thankfully,
penalties.
Yeah. So, and the minute you sell, you've got to then have something else to transfer that. What's it called? Security. You've got to. So I've got 2 investment places.
Yeah.
I've got my home as security for 2 of my investment places. So if I sell that, then I have to buy something else straight away to change the security.
Right. To keep that loan, to be able to use that loan, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so are you cross-secured at the moment as your... Right, so you've been set up cross-secured. And that was something that you did prior to Positive Real Estate?
No. Because we did a massive reshuffle to buy a mirror because I was always scrimping and scraping every last...
I see. So there was a means to an end to get a mirror. To get a
mirror and to also have 50k deposit for for the Georges.
Okay. I see. All right. Yeah. And sometimes we make a choice that there might be a trade-off on the other side of that, and the trade-off is it sounds like maybe you're cross-secured. I'd have to have a look.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that means we have to be careful if you're going to obviously sell your house, because then they may want you to pay down some debt on some other stuff and bits and pieces. So
yeah, and that has to. I think that I have to be 55%
LVR.
LVR, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's some stuff that you're going to have to shuffle. So your lesson from all of this was that you need to plan ahead when you take out fixed term loans, and just anything really when you're thinking of selling. You need a good plan well in advance. Is that correct?
I guess this has come up a little earlier than I'd thought too, because of the sale of my business. I wasn't really thinking that would happen so early. And I guess I didn't think that through either, the fact that the whole cross-collateralizing business. And I didn't really, maybe my mortgage broker didn't even know about that. Therefore, it wasn't in my plan at the point when I set all that up as well.
Right, okay.
So it just means I have to delay selling a little longer, and I can't sell my other unit here in Potts Point until September next year because of a fixed term loan.
Right, okay, gotcha. And then it says here that you've always had one income stream from my early 20s. Had more than one income stream from your early 20s. And so tell me about that as well, because I'm always intrigued. A lot of our clients are very entrepreneurial, and they work hard, they go that extra mile, they understand that if they want a result that's outside of the norm, that they will need to maybe do something a bit different in order to attract that. So tell me about that.
So yes, I've always worked 2 jobs. I always thought my income wasn't high enough to be able to do what I wanted to do. And back then I was really just to travel, and I didn't really have any massive aspirations to invest in property or anything back then. But I always thought I needed to get ahead and I needed to have savings, really. I mean, I grew up on a farm. I was always came from hardworking parents.
Right. So you have that ethos. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've always worked from moving to Sydney at 18. I've always worked 2 jobs.
Right.
And then once my salary started to increase, I got to the point where I felt I didn't really need the second job anymore. So I did cut that back for a while until I discovered things like Airbnb and Car Next Door, and hang on a minute, I can earn more money doing nothing. And I've always
who doesn't like that?
Yeah, exactly. I've always rented out my house, my second bedroom, to pay down the mortgage. Once I got the mortgage here in 2001, I rented out my spare room to help pay down the mortgage.
Awesome.
And then when I found out about Airbnb, I straight away was onto that. Oh, I can earn more money. And then, I found Car Next Door, and I bought a van that I rent out through that. And then I bought another car. I had a cheap old car, which I put on Car Next Door until that got driven into the ground, basically. and then I was able to justify buying a nice car, knowing that I could have that on Car Next Door and I'm not using it.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm making about $500 a month on my second car, and I've got a car to drive, a nice, comfortable car to drive when I want it.
That's great.
I tend to only use it when I want to go on long trips.
Right.
When I'm not in the camper van.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And so it's I mean, a lot of younger clients, I say to them, like, if you get a 2-bedroom place, the fastest way to pay it down is to rent that spare room to somebody. But a lot of people aren't prepared to do it. So good on you for...
No, I've always have. When I first was looking for this, I was like tossing up between 1 and 2 bedroom, and I thought, no way, I am not getting a 1 bedroom, because then if I struggle, if anything ever happens to me, my work, my health, it means I don't have I can't rent it out.
Yeah.
If it's a 1 bedroom. So,
yeah.
And I couldn't afford a 3, otherwise I would have had been renting 2 rooms. But yeah, I've always been able to rent out that spare room and get some extra money.
Oh, that's amazing. And so...
And the tax deductions too.
Oh, yeah. So,
double whammy there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess wrapping it up, the question I like to ask everybody is, like, if you were standing right now with your younger self, what would Rose today tell Rose of yesteryear? What would you like to impart? What wisdom?
Work hard, save hard, invest your money wisely, get some education, get the right people behind you.
Yeah.
And make sure you invest that money sensibly.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Rose, for your time today.
My pleasure. Great to chat to you.
Lovely to chat to you too. And it's been lovely to meet you properly for a proper chat tonight. So thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, Tab. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for listening to Property Investor Tales. Remember to subscribe so you get notified every time a new episode drops. As you can guess, I love hearing people's property investor tales. So if you'd like to share yours, then please get in touch with me via email at propertyinvestortales@positivementor.com.au. We would also love your feedback, and I would appreciate a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Remember, you can watch all of these podcasts over on YouTube at Positive Mentor or at positivementor.com.au. Until then, take care, happy investing, and bye for now.